going on with my boy Brandon Johnson, because I'm telling you what, he just came up with a plan that's going to help Chicago with its budget deficit, and I'm gonna tell you what, I've heard of pretty bad plans. This is up there. This is up there. So I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna jump right in.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson unveiled his 2026 budget plan today. Now, the gap in that budget is bigger than first thought. It is more than $1 billion. Now, the mayor promises no property tax hike and no grocery tax. So where is he going to find the money to plug that hole? Our political reporter, Marianne Ahern, is here now with the details. Marianne.
Good afternoon, Alex. A key part of the mayor's budget proposal is a corporate head tax. That is a tax on the biggest companies in the city based on how many employees they have. It's something the city got rid of more than a decade ago, but now the mayor wants to bring it back, and already it's proving to be a tough sell.
So before we get too deep into it, if this doesn't assure you and let you know that this mayor right here doesn't have any concrete plan on how to run his city, I don't know what will, because he's introducing something that was a thing 10 years ago that obviously didn't work, because guess what? They got rid of it. He's trying to charge companies for the amount of people that they have in more taxes. Let that sink in for a second.
And then finally eliminating the head tax.
Getting rid of the corporate head tax was a cornerstone of Rahm Emanuel's first mayoral campaign. Mayor Brandon Johnson's 2026 budget proposal would not only revive, but steeply increase the tax on big companies. He's pitching it as a way to fund community safety.
And so we are asking big tech to chip in. We are asking corporate landlords and yacht owners to chip in, but we are also asking the larger corporations to step up in this moment.
The tax would apply to companies with at least 100 employees, about 3% of corporations in Chicago. They would have to pay $21 per employee each month. It's drawing criticism from business leaders and aldermen concerned about jobs.
In 2018 in Seattle, they passed this a similar type thing, and it was repealed less than a month later because of similar concerns. So I suspect that is not going anywhere.
However, Johnson's supporters put the blame on the Trump administration.
When we think about the upward push with the tax cuts that have been made on some of the wealthiest of Chicagoans, I do believe that it brings some level of equality.
Another big priority.
That reminds me of when my boy Gavin Newsom was saying that the Trump slump, California being in like billions of dollars in a deficit, right, was due to Trump's tariffs.
We were significantly off.
On Wednesday, Governor Gavin Newsom admitted the state was wrong when he initially predicted back in January the state would have a $363 million surplus in the state budget. Newsom is now blaming the Trump administration's actions for the lack of incoming revenue, calling it a, quote, Trump slump.
We're going to see an impact about a $16 billion downturn, not all in the next fiscal year, but fiscal year plus one.
Governor Newsom says the state is now facing an $11.9 billion deficit with a $321.9 billion budget.
And that was early, like May-ish time. Like Trump wasn't in office for a full year. Like this is early May. You're telling me that California being in billions of dollars in a deficit is because Trump got into office with the tariff. So it wasn't in a deficit before, that this just happened. It just spawned out of nowhere. These guys, instead of just taking their responsibility when it comes to certain things, Gavin Newsom more so than Brandon Johnson, but even still. But to try to blame certain things that have been consistently going on within your cities and or states for years now on Trump is kind of crazy.
In the budget, a new tax on large-scale social media companies like X, YouTube, and Meta, which owns Facebook. Johnson calling it a first in the nation, but critics expect legal challenges.
And just like we tax other addictive vices that are bad for our health, like nicotine and tobacco, it is far past time we treat social media companies the same way.
There are other tax hikes in the mayor's budget plan, a new online sports wagering tax, as well as what's being called a yacht tax for those who pay boat mooring fees at city harbors. The mayor also wants a one-year hiring freeze. However, public safety jobs are exempt. This is the outline. It may look far different when the aldermen take that final vote.
If Chicago wants to create a city where jobs are going to be dwindling and or just go broke, well, more broke than what they already are, This is the way to do it. When you start to, in a sense, punish, because no one wants to pay taxes, right? When you start to punish companies for hiring people, you know what's going to happen? They're going to try to find ways to circumvent it. They're not going to try to hire as much anymore. Yes, it only affects 3% of the companies within Chicago, reportedly. 3% sounds small, and whenever people report on things on the news and everything like that, they try to manipulate information in a certain type of way. 3%, but it doesn't really say how many. So for instance, right, if there's like over 100,000 companies within Chicago, that's about 3,000, right? That's a lot of companies, and that could affect a whole lot of people in the city of Chicago, because Chicago isn't like a big city, but it's a decent size. This next video, right, is him pretty much defending why he wants to do this tax hike. I mean, I know why. They're broke, and he needs to keep to his campaign promise of not increasing property taxes, because he tried to do it twice and people was like, hell no, we're not doing that.
We do not want troops in our city. We will not allow our cities to be occupied.
It has been a busy 7 days for Mayor Brandon Johnson. He addressed the massive No Kings rally crowd Saturday, just days after introducing his 2026 budget proposal. Now, that proposal aims to close a $1 billion budget hole without raising property taxes. And Mayor Johnson joining me now in studio live to talk rally and to talk money. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
Now, you told a very receptive crowd of about 250,000 people that Chicago, and we heard part of what you said, will not submit to, quote, the authoritarianism, thank you for helping me there, of the Trump administration. Are you concerned that might, and a lot of what you've said might cause the Trump administration to double down on its immigration efforts here? And what's next? What happens now?
So I pretty much skipped through this, and you're going to see it in the video because he talked about the No Kings protest. I don't give a damn. But I want to get through to the part where he's talking about and defending his budget proposal, because that's the real meat.
Let's talk about the budget now. You want to use $1 billion in TIF funds to help balance the budget, $500 million of which, or roughly half, would go to CPS. There are some non-City Hall budget folks, like the Civic Federation's Joe Ferguson, who are critical, though, of your proposal. He, in fact, I think called it resorting to the quicksand of poor past fiscal practices. Your response to that, and do you think you'll be able to get this budget proposal through City Council? I mean, last year was a huge battle.
We will get it passed, and it doesn't raise property taxes. We eliminate the collection of the grocery tax. Here's the bottom line, is that Donald Trump has cut resources from Chicago. He's taken money away from our transportation system, away from health care. He's cut, again, into our education system. What this budget does, it ensures that we're protecting all Chicagoans, because it's not just about Chicago public schools, it's about our parks and our libraries.
Fix?
It's not. Over 60% of this budget is structural. And so Joe Ferguson is wrong. He's been wrong before. It's not the first time. Here's what
You see, the thing about that is this, right? He's trying to set up the proposal and the idea that the reason why Chicago is struggling right now when it comes to the transit system, when it comes to education, when it comes to the budget overall, is because Trump is in office. These were issues that already persisted with the city of Chicago. They already had these problems, but it's just getting worse now. The truth of the matter is that, yes, the Trump administration is holding back federal funds, but that's due to the fact that Chicago has shown time and time again that they're not doing well with their own funds that they're drumming up from their own state. All right. The federal government is not some bailout system, which they kind of are when it comes to banks, but that's a whole other conversation. They're not some bailout system for when states want to misappropriate and mismanage their money. That's not what they're there for. A lot of these states are within huge deficits, but then when you look at their city officials, when you look at what they're pouring money into, and honestly, like I've said it before, especially when it comes to this mayor right here and the governor, J.B. Pritzker, I believe that there's some form of kickbacks, and I feel like there's some funky money going on, allegedly. That's just what I think. All his answers are going to lead some way, somehow, back to Donald Trump, even though Chicago's been going through these issues when it comes to the budget for years now, but it's always going to lead back to Donald Trump because Trump bad.
My budget does. It course corrects the very ills that I inherited. We make sure that we're paying into our pension, but we're making sure that we're not laying people off and then placing the burden on working people. We're going to challenge the ultra rich, excuse me, and our large corporations to pay their fair share in taxes. That has something that has not been done ever in the city of Chicago, and this is what this budget does.
Let's talk about the head tax. You're proposing the corporate head tax, which I know you've rebranded, but it would be $21 per employee in companies over 100 employees. That's almost 4 times what it was when Mayor Rahm Emanuel scrapped it. Are you concerned about a business community pushback and also about a fight in City Hall over that one item.
97% of businesses will not be impacted by this. We're talking about 3% of our larger corporations, but here's what it funds.
Back to what I was saying before. It's easy to throw out a number like that because it truthfully could be 3%. And 3% sounds way less scary than them saying, hey, this is going to affect 3,000, companies and whatnot. But that's why they set it up like that, because they want people to have the idea of it's not that big of a deal. It's only going to affect 3%. A lot of those companies, right, are the ones that I'm guessing bring a whole lot of money and business to Chicago. What's going to happen is that you're going to alienate and make those big businesses, all those people that, the ultra rich or ultra wealthy, whatever you want to call them, right? That's going to make them take a look at Chicago and go, okay, I'm in this state, their money isn't right. The safety of myself and my workers isn't there as well, because a lot of shit still goes on in Chicago. And now I'm getting taxed heavily. I'm going to leave. That's what's going to happen. Not all, but a decent amount will leave. These are the people that bring money to the state. And when you get rid of them, the city and state suffer.
It ensures that we're providing mental and behavioral health care services for our police officers. It ensures that domestic violence survivors are supported. It ensures that young people have opportunities for good paying jobs. It actually invests in CVI, our community violence intervention workers, particularly at a time in which we have seen the greatest decline in homicides and shootings in over 60 years, right? And so my commitment is to make sure.
Whenever they bring up stuff like that, you have to look at what's really going on. Chicago is a declining city for the most part. They've been declining in population for the last 30 or so years. So when they keep talking about, oh, well, crime is down this much, it's like, yeah, because people are leaving the city, but it's still keeping the same percentage of crime that happens for those people. We have to remember that how they report on crime and the people that report on crime, meaning the crime that's done to them or those that they know, is going down as well. Why? Because the police officers are not able to support those people. I just saw a video, I actually saw a few videos of people talking about getting beat up and or assaulted in Chicago. And guess what? The police can't follow up on it, or they don't call the police. The police in that area don't do anything. The police are severely underfunded and understaffed. And they're talking about cutting away, I think, $100 million from the police force as well. I hate when these politicians jump online and say, oh yeah, we're making the city safer. And people are crying out in the streets talking about how they feel unsafe and they can't handle it. To me, that's greatly disrespectful.
Sure that we're not going backwards when it comes to these investments to ensure that we can build the safest, most affordable big city in America. And I don't believe that's an unreasonable expectation to challenge the ultra-rich, the very people who received the biggest tax breaks from Donald Trump, to put more skin in the game so that we can continue to build safe and affordable communities.
Some people, though, argue that it will force businesses to not come to Chicago or potentially leave, bigger corporations.
Well, look, that has not been the case. And listen, the city of Chicago had one of the greatest recoveries. Our ridership is up. We have more people who are connected in our airports, particularly O'Hare. We just saw the greatest summer in the city of Chicago with hotel occupancy. We're talking about $900 million of new revenue, $20 billion impact. There's a good reason to stay in Chicago, is because we're building a safe and affordable one. And so that's what I'm counting on the residents of this city to get behind this budget, to challenge the ultra-rich to pay their fair share, but also to make sure that we're protecting all Chicagoans from the cuts that are coming from the Trump administration.
Okay, Mayor Brandon Johnson, thank you.
This dude right here is probably one of the worst mayors out there, because he has a very low approval rating. But yet in his mind, right, he's doing what he needs to do, and he's standing up for Chicagoans, making them safer. They don't feel safe. They don't feel like you're properly using their money to help advance the city and make it safer. They don't feel like that. These politicians are going to keep playing in people's faces and tell them, hey, look, everything's fine. Crime is down. We're making the city safer. The city is generating all this money, but yet there's budget deficits and people crying out in the streets talking about the crime and how they're being assaulted, beat up, you shot at. You know what I'm saying? All these things are going on. It doesn't make sense. Well, you guys already know the drill. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Like I always ask and like I always say, let me know if I'm off in the comments, because when it comes to just elected officials in general, I'm seeing a whole lot of things, and I'm hearing a whole lot as well, because I'm trying to get out there and talk to people. A lot of funky money. And I'm telling you right now, we as a citizen, the people that vote these people in, we need to do better. We need to do better. I'll hold myself accountable too. I need to do better as well. I need to really pay attention to who I'm putting in office within my city and my state. That's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.